What if the greatest threat to your racing career isn't a hungry 20-year-old on your bumper? What if it's the quiet, gradual degradation of the very assets that made you a champion? Things like your vision, your rapid cognitive processing, and your capacity to take a hit on Sunday and rebuild by Tuesday. This week, after a very hard fought battle in a massive win at Michigan, Denny Hamlin was asked about the reality of eventually stepping away from the driver's seat. And his answer wasn't about losing his passion, it was about losing his baseline. He said, as a driver gets older, the first thing to slip is your eyesight. And then your reaction time begins to slip away. Then suddenly your body just hurts all week long, and recovery becomes a mountain that you can't quite climb before the next green flag. And when I heard that, I didn't hear a retirement speech. I heard an engineering challenge because those aren't inevitable symptoms of getting old. Those are unbuffered biological failures of the human operating system. Let's dive into how we can protect the asset. Yes, welcome back to Breaking Boundaries for Champions, the only human performance engineering podcast built explicitly for the motorsports community. I'm your host, Jeffrey Mort, human performance engineer and founder of Victory Lane Wellness, the human performance layer of professional racing. We help drivers, crew athletes, and team owners isolate biological failure points and engineer systemic resilience using advanced at-home health testing. And if you're determined to protect your execution edge, extend your career, and lock down your legacy, hit that subscribe button right now. Because today we're talking directly to the racing veterans. Now, you might be wondering, how do you stay running at max RPMs after, say, age 35, outperform athletes a decade younger, and ensure that your system doesn't break down under the pressure? Well, there is an old, stubborn narrative echoing through the garage area that most people believe that once you cross into your late 30s or even early 40s, physical decline is just the price of admission. You accept the morning brain fog. You accept that your knees and your back hurt when you climb out of the car. You accept that it takes until Thursday just to feel human again after a grueling hot weekend. We look at the younger generation bouncing back almost instantly, and we assume our time at the front of the field has an expiration date. And look, I get why we believe that. The calendar doesn't lie. And a 20-year career in this sport takes a brutal physical toll. Between 4 hours of heat stress in a 140-degree cockpit, the constant G-force loading, press and simulator fatigue, and the relentless pressure of keeping sponsors happy, you are redlined before the engines even start. It makes complete sense to think the human machine simply wears out. But as an engineer, I look at the telemetry differently. There is a massive, measurable difference between chronological aging and unnecessary biological decline. You see, what if the goal isn't to fight the clock? What if the goal is simply to engineer a better buffer for your assets? If we treat your vision, your focus, and your cellular recovery as high value mechanical parts that require specific lubrication and calibration, we don't just stop the decline, we optimize the output. We reduce the late race processing errors, and we eliminate the fatigue that causes microseconds of delay on pit road. And we extend your career on your own terms. Now, there are three franchise assets of the veteran driver. When we listen to Denny's reality check, he isolated the three exact subsystems that dictate a veteran's longevity. Visual precision. If you can't see where you're going, like there's a problem. Cognitive focus. If you start dropping off cognitively on lap 200, That's also a problem. And systemic recovery. If it takes you all week to recover, how is that momentum building over the entire race season? This is what causes burnout and exactly what we talked about last week on Breaking Boundaries. So let's put them on the diagnostic scanner. Asset number one, visual precision. So Denny pointed directly to eyesight first, and biologically, he's spot on. The human eye relies on some of the smallest, most delicate capillary networks in the entire body. Because those blood vessels are so microscopic, they act like early warning sensors on a race car. And when your system is flooded with chronic inflammation, with sleep debt, with oxidative stress from things like engine fumes, tire and track compounds, and extreme heat, those tiny vessels are the first to suffer from restricted blood flow. Now, most guys think fixing eye health means popping a generic lutein supplement from the grocery store shelf, but your eyes don't operate in a vacuum. Visual precision is a systemic physiology output. And especially if your blood sugar is spiking and crashing from erratic travel diets, or if your omega-3 levels are depleted, your brain processing speed slows down as well. A fatigued brain physically processes visual data slower than a recovered brain. And to keep your vision tracking a car spinning out at 200 miles per hour, we don't just look at the eyes, we optimize the internal blood flow and cellular oxygenating system that's fueling them. So, asset number two, cognitive focus. The second failure point is mental focus. In modern motorsports, you aren't just driving, you are a high speed data processor, matching lines and listening to spotters and managing tires and adjusting brake bias in milliseconds. Focus isn't just a mental attitude, it is a biological resource. And when a system is running with unbuffered cortisol spikes, deep nutrient deficiencies, and cellular inflammation, your brain health drops off of a cliff. You don't notice it on lap 10, you notice it on lap 290, when a split second decision determines whether you hit the wall or you're hitting victory lane. This is exactly why we engineered our NeuroSPEED system. We didn't build it for casual mental fitness. We built it using the same neural programming principles trusted by NASA astronauts, Olympic athletes, and special forces operators. We train the brain to enter a calm, high processing theta state under extreme pressure. Because in this sport, milliseconds are the currency of champions. So if we protect your biological focus, we reduce the cognitive errors that cost millions either in wreckage or lost points. Now, asset number three, systemic recovery. This is the one that hits closest to home for most veterans and crew members. Even the crew chiefs I've heard mention this as well. It's the quiet frustration of waking up Monday morning feeling like you got hit by a freight train. It's wanting to be present for your family on an off day, but your body is so deeply exhausted that you're just stuck on the couch or you find yourself dragging to the shop. Many drivers assume that's just the reality of turning 40, or maybe it's hitting you after 30. But the truth is, recovery is trainable, it's engineerable capacity. When we run advanced telemetry on veteran drivers, we almost always find hidden internal drags on their system. These are deep mineral deficiencies or flattened cortisol curves. And severe cellular dehydration. The question isn't, am I getting too old for this? The question is my biological radiator clogged? Every race weekend creates an immense stress load, and you know this. The difference between the driver hoisting the trophy in November and the guy fading out of the playoffs isn't talent, it definitely is recovery capacity. So let's have the real longevity conversation. Most people live and die by their chronological age, the number on your driver's license. In human performance engineering, we only care about one thing, and that is biological age. This is the actual functional wear and tear on your internal systems. The beauty is through modern functional medicine labs, we can map your exact biological aging. I have seen 32-year-old drivers whose systems look like an overwritten, unbuffered 60-year-old engine because of terrible, terrible recovery habits. And I've also seen 45-year-old veterans, drivers, who function with the clean, rapid cellular resilience of a 25-year-old. So, what is not measured cannot be optimized. You hear me say that every week. And when you stop guessing about your health and start looking at the actual biological data, the entire game changes. You stop playing defense against the clock and you start playing offense against the field. So the Victory Lane framework is very simple. Over at Victory Lane Wellness, we don't offer generic advice, and same thing here on the Breaking Boundaries podcast. There's no generic advice. We run a three-stage engineering protocol: asset protection, fatigue mitigation, and error reduction. Because guessing with your biology is expensive, especially when your career, your legacy, and your safety depend on peak execution. And it's really simple. Step number one, we measure. We initiate a full biological diagnostic scan using advanced at-home functional lab testing. These lab tests can be done right at home or right at the track. And our foundational tool is the Big Five Functional Lab Bundle. We map your stress hormones, your toxic load, deep cellular inflammation, mineral imbalances. We run your system through the program to see the real data. And once we identify, we can isolate the hidden friction, and identification is step number two. We can reveal exactly where your nutrient deficiencies are, stalling your energy production, and where cellular toxicity is actually slowing down your recovery. And then step number three, we recalibrate. We rebuild a highly precise, data-driven optimization blueprint unique to your code, your very specific biological code. No generic protocols. We deploy targeted, science-backed, natural cellular fuel, and HRV-guided nervous system downregulation is another big part of it to be able to rebuild your immune and your performance shields. Now, the final lap is out here. As we take the checkered flag on today's episode, I want you to remember this: that your talent got you to the elite level, but your physiology is what keeps you there. And the drivers who sustain their peak careers the longest aren't the ones who got lucky with their genetics. They are the ones who realize that the human operating system is the ultimate unregulated competitive advantage in the motorsports. Protect your vision, engineer your focus, and build an unbreakable buffer for your recovery. Your legacy is worth the investment. And if you are a veteran driver, an elite crew athlete, or a team owner ready to stop guessing, eliminate late-stage mistakes, and protect your franchise assets, let's talk. Apply to partner with us over at Victory Lane Wellness at victorylanewellness.com, where every enrollment in our high-performance health program directly supports our Race for a Reason initiative, providing functional testing. This is advanced functional testing for chronically ill children through racing-related charities. We take care of the garage so we can take care of the kids. I'm Jeffrey Mort. We'll see you in Victory Lane. Bye-bye.